Well, good morning, everybody. What's new? What's going on? I'm really, for some reason, don't have much to talk about. Nothing's really going on. I'm Lynn. There's Ciarra joining me as always, my ride or die partner. What's going on, Ciarra?
You know, I was having a very, very good week, but Juan Soto was trying to ruin that, okay? I don't know what is taking so long. I don't Okay, I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and I know that I've talked about the Red Sox, in the past few weeks. But now that I think about it, Juan, or not Juan Soto, Scott Boras is an evil genius. And if you know Chris Jenner, you know that the joke has always been the devil works hard, but Chris Jenner works harder. I think
Yep.
Scott Boras works harder than both of them put together because there's no way that the Dodgers, the Red Sox, or the Blue Jays were ever in the running at this point. It's always been the Queens and the Bronx, right? It's always been Mets versus Yankees. It's never been anyone else. That's what I'm convinced at this point. And I just need a decision. At this point, if it's about money, just take the money and go because there's got to be more to it, right? Do you want to win a World Series? Do you want to win an MVP? Like MVP is the only thing that Soto hasn't checked off of um his little bucket, right? He's been nominated for a Gold Glove. He didn't win, but he was nominated. He's won a World Series already, and now you're gonna be the highest paid player. Make up your mind. What do you want to do? I can't
Really,
handle it.
it's a whole different kind of triple crown, and we'll get into all sorts of feelings and opinions about that. Um, But first, hey, so coming in because they also just have nothing to talk about and everything's so boring as a Yankee fan this morning. So glad you're coming to hang out with us, Lori, Jonathan, CT Cards, the numbers guy. Hey, wish I knew your name, but I'm still going to call you O1. Good to see you. It's been a minute. Jonathan, what's up, Gregory and me, Daddy? Good to see you, Dev, Brad. Great to see you as well. And so let's just call out the elephant in the room. It's not hot stove season; it's soda stove season. It's the only thing going on, and not even just for Yankee fans and Mets fans, and and Red Sox fans. But really, just it seems like wherever you turn, everyone's talking about this and focused on this. Um, I know we need it to happen today. Um, and of course, we want it to happen today, but the winter meetings don't even start until tomorrow. So they're just now getting in. But we also know from the past history, and we've seen in recent days from players not named Soto, there's been a lot of trade action going on in the last 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah.
So, folks are getting stuff done before even hitting Miami. So, um, let's do a little prediction here. And this is a want versus need situation. We started that new segment last week, right? Want versus need. We know we need the news today, and we want the news, but are we going to get it? Um, my gut is telling me yes. What about you, Ciara?
So the only reason my gut is telling me no is because the winter meetings start tomorrow, and I know like the thought process is he wants to get it done before the winter meetings, but I'm picturing a LeBron James type of announcement. First day of winter meetings, Scott Boras comes on stage, does this big spiel, calls Soto out. Soto has on the hat of the team that he wants to be on, and that's how we're gonna find out. I don't know. That's how I see it. Maybe I should produce a reality TV show, but I think it's going to be a huge production, and we're not going to just find out from a John Heyman or whoever else's tweet from Twitter. I think there's going to be this huge production, and it's going to be live national television, and everybody and their mama is going to tune in. Or if it is tonight, they're going to interrupt Sunday Night Football, like a political broadcast, but it's going to be Juan Soto telling us where he's going.
Wow. Okay. You've really thought this through. And we think that Brad, I think that's a good safe guess. I don't think it's going to go past Monday. And I know that part of the conversation, once the number of zeros has been decided, I think the other big conversation is going to be the timing. The timing is going to be huge, because and I'm sure Boris has a formula for it, and waiting X amount of time and doing it with this place or this person, getting the scoop on it first, is all about who's going to bring us in the most endorsements and other things, other monies. So but you know what, well, we'll see, won't we? We'll see, and we'll see how many hairs we have on our heads by the end of today. But I see that Raziel and John the Beagle Dad came in, so good to see you guys. um so so here's the thing, I'm going to toss out a controversial question. And if you follow me on X, you might have seen it this morning, but um at least on the surface, it seems safe to say that it really is at this point between the Dodgers. I mean, oh God, I hope that wasn't some sort of Freudian slip I don't know about. Let me spit that out. The Mets and the Yankees. But if Hal goes as high as 750, and for Hal, I think he'll have nosebleeds and migraines, and because this would be unprecedented Yankee dollars. Um, and then at the last minute, Cohen comes back and outbids him by, like, say, $30 million. Um, what does Soto do, everybody? Does Soto look at that and say, nah, 10 million, 30 million? You know what? What does that mean to me in the scheme of things? And I want to go, to the Yankees, who I know, and I know what I'm expecting, and I know that the stage is one of the biggest and brightest in MLB, and that'll be just as much worth the dollars. Um, what do you think, Ciarra?
So I actually love this question. And I love it from a personal standpoint because I work in HR and recruiting, right, in my normal everyday life. And I have these types of conversations with candidates all the time. Like, what is important to you? Is it just the money, or are there external factors? Now, with us normal people, it's family, it's work-life balance. So with someone like Soto, it's a little bit different. But to me, it has to be about more than just the money. Because if you're just seeking to be the highest paid baseball player in history, I feel like you're going to end up being miserable, right? Because you still have things that you need/want to do. You want to win an MVP. You're only 26 years old. You want to improve your fielding possibly and win a gold glove. You were acknowledged as a candidate for that. You want to go back to the All-Star game. You put up 41 home runs in the Bronx. You didn't do that in San Diego. Are you going to do that in Queens? And this is no shot at the Mets, right? I've said multiple times that what they did last year was super impressive, and Francisco Lindor is a fantastic leader and a great clubhouse guy. However, I just think there is a difference between playing behind or playing in front of Aaron Judge and playing in front of Francisco Lindor. Aaron Judge, yes, he screwed up in the postseason. We don't know what to expect from him in the postseason moving forward. But Aaron Judge, regular season, is the best player on the planet. Who doesn't want to play with that? If you're not taking Aaron Judge, then who are you picking? Ohtani? And at this point, I don't think the Dodgers are a viable option because they went and signed Blake Snell, and there's no way that they have this magical deferrable money left over for what Soto's looking for. I just think it has to be more than money. It's got to be money. It's got to be prospects, which if it is about prospects, then the Yankees are screwed. It's got to be about winning a World Series, and it's got to be about cementing a legacy. Where does he want to cement his legacy? Because this is his third. He's already on his third team, right? Do you want to go to your fourth? Or do you want to bring your talents back to the Bronx and be the last Yankee to wear number 22? Because if he stays in the Bronx, his number will be retired right alongside 99 eventually. And I just think he really, really needs to think this through. And it has to be more than just about the money.
Very well said. And I concur in many ways that I'll go into. Hold my beer. Good to see you here with us today. Money comes first to Soto. Okay, yep. I think money matters. Plus, Soto will be more successful with the Mets. If by more successful you mean all the things Ciarra just talked about, like a good chance at winning the World Series, you know, They did surprise us this season and such, but when you talk about things like the legacies and the other wrappings of what a team has, those are bright shiny objects too. But I know that they're not green shiny, and I hear you totally on that. And so, oh, Tyro Estrada's brother is here. Hey, Roy, good to see you. Um, go Dodgers. Okay, always great to have another. I'm glad to see a Mets fan in here and a Dodgers fan. Always like to see the other fan bases here. If the rumors are true and the gap between Mets and Yankees are only 20 million, that's not enough big money for to sway him to leave the Yankees. It has to be 50 or more. You can stay, Roy. That was really that was a really good answer. Welcome. Um, so here's the thing, and I started a little bit of I got quick pushbacks when I tossed this out at Twitter, and with the comment that if it comes down to 30 million gap, that and Soto goes for that money, to me, then it's like, okay, now I see you, Soto. Thought you were our guy, but everyone was right. It really is only about the business. And I don't think this is necessarily unique to the Yankee fan base, but especially for us oldies, I think before MLB became a business, it wasn't just about and very rarely discussed, to be honest, the money. It was really about the good team, the great players, what excitement they'll bring, what fans will it bring to the stadium, and so there's some principles here when you have a generational player who might go elsewhere because there's ridiculous amounts of money on the table now. And what does that mean for the future of baseball? Who's minding the store on the future of baseball and what that means to fans? Because at the end of the day, it's not Cohen paying for this, although he has 85 gajillion billion dollars. Um, it's not Hal paying for this, or I should say, only Hal, only Cohen, only the fans are paying for this. It's like government spending. The taxpayers are paying for it. We are paying for these salaries, and the higher and more ridiculous they go, where's the top? you know and the ticket prices and those things, to the people that aren't looking at 750 million, matter, and haven't been to the stadium in years. And when you're not connected to your team in that personal feelings way, then you start paying attention and you start losing interest, and that's worth money too. And so, and think about what's going to come to Soto, with endorsements and all those other trappings outside of this contract. I just think it is borderline, disgraceful. I can't say this. Yeah, that it's getting this high and this ridiculous. There's going to be another Soto. There's going to be another Otani. And where are we going? Are we looking at 850 million in a discussion 5 years from now for somebody that bursts out of nowhere and is the next unicorn? I'm just borderline ready to rant about
But
this. But
I feel like you can't even call Juan Soto a unicorn, right? And let me just preference this because I know whenever I talk about Juan Soto, people assume that I don't want to keep him, assume that I don't like him. Let me be very clear. I'm a big Juan Soto girl. I love Juan Soto, but I am also a realistic baseball fan. Soto is not a unicorn. And I'm gonna get eaten alive for this, but you cannot call him a generational player if he can't field the baseball. I'm glad he has this fantastic eyeball and he can see better than anybody on the freaking planet and he can get on base. I love that. And if he walks, we're not replacing his production. You can't replace his offensive production. But you can't call him a unicorn or a generational player if he can't catch the ball in right field. I I have other concerns about the Yankees outside of Juan Soto. Like, do I want the guy back? Absolutely. Like I just said, I'm a big Juan Soto girl, just like everybody else. But I have major concerns about left field. I have major concerns about Judge continuing to play center field as a 6'9" giant who's icing his knees in between games and who can't catch a routine fly ball in the World Series. I have major concerns about the infield because we're letting Gleyber Torres, a actual leadoff hitter and one of our most productive postseason players, walk out the door. We're going to put a rookie at second. We don't have a plan for first. We don't have any other plans in the works. The only other rumor that I've seen so far is Max Fried. And while I'm not completely against getting pitching should be the least of our concerns, right? In my opinion. I know I'm alone in that, but there are so many other priorities than Soto. So if you go and you give Soto $750 million, where does that leave the rest of our team? Where does that leave us trying to get to the postseason, right? Like, and let's not forget, Dodgers players have been dragging our corpses since after the World Series. They are rubbing it in our faces that we melted down in Game 5 in the 5th inning, and that our veterans Rizzo and Cole couldn't get it together. That Mookie Betts outran 2 people to first base and cost us the game. Like, there's so much more on the line here, and Juan Soto either needs to get it together and sign a contract or freaking walk. Like, you made your decision already, so just let the rest of the world know so we can move on and figure out what the hell we're doing with the rest of this team.
Right. It's like, why didn't you break up with me 6 months ago when you already weren't feeling it? Like, do me a favor and cut me loose. Yeah, and Frank, I get it. Of course it's about the money. And of course it is a business. I get all that. And players are going to make decisions based on it. What I'm really talking about is, and by the way, I do think that for some players it has been a deal breaker that they want to be in those Yankee pinstripes. And I really feel like that was that was that was a big piece of Soto coming over, was that he liked the idea of it because he knows the mystique that comes with the Yankees, and there's no bigger showboater I know in this day and age than Soto. All right, wiggles and all. He likes the limelight, and so he's not going to get that anywhere else in the ways that he gets it at in the Bronx. And I no disrespect to the other fan bases here in the chat, but it's just part and parcel of being around since 1903, and yes, winning as many championships as we have, which I know I have nerve to say after the most recent experience. And congrats to the Dodgers, by the way. But and that's the other thing that money can't buy. And I do think it's a shiny object for Soto that he's thinking about, but that it's just $1 million question to me. And John, you're right. The cable prices are going to continue to rise. And Raziel, you're telling me it's inflation, and I get your point. And I know, and I acknowledge as an older person, that this is just the game now. But
Yeah. And Raziel mentioned in the chat that it's not just about money, right? It's about the lack of fundamentals for the Yankees. And that was my whole point in that rant and why I'm concerned about the holes on our team, right? We don't have a first baseman because we lost our Swiss cheese brain Rizzo. And so now we're relying on Ben Rice or TJ Rumfield and I love Cabrera, but like those 3 guys. And you have DJ LeMahieu, who's not an everyday player. You have Anthony Volpe at shortstop, who has showed significant improvement, but he still had 16 errors last year. Okay. He was right behind Gleyber. Gleyber had 18. Volpe had 16. And honestly, if Rizzo wasn't at first base for some of that season, Volpe would have had more. Third base, I'm not as concerned. I think Jazz can handle it. But then you have second base, who are you putting at second base? No neck having Caleb Durbin, who hasn't proven himself yet. Like, we do lack fundamentals, guys. And that's why it concerns me that we're going to give almost $800 million to Juan Soto and not fix any of the other issues. Plus, let's not forget, our coaching staff is a joke. Like, Luis Rojas should have been fired yesterday, like 2 weeks ago. Why did he send Giancarlo Stanton when Teoscar Hernandez was behind him in left field? So yeah, our base running is bad, but our coaching stuff is even worse. And if we don't focus on the fundamentals in spring training and all these other things, like, that is on the staff. What are we doing here?
Well, that was a whole bunch of facts, and Li, I tossed your comment up there. There's no way that and I think we've talked with you about this before with
We
everyone.
have. It's not happening. The guy can't play right field. He's not playing first base.
If anyone is gonna go to first base from the outfield, it's gonna be Aaron Judge. And that's been going around the, and that kind of takes you aback thinking about that, right?
Or we can go out and get Cody Bellinger. Like, I would welcome Cody Bellinger with open arms. Like, come to the Bronx. Come be with us. He can play first base, he can play center field, and he can DH. So that gives us production at first base. That gives Judge day off in center field. And if we have no one to DH that day, and let's say we have to have a bunch of other dudes in the lineup, that gives you a DH when you don't have any other options. Like, and if we sign Soto, does that take Bellinger off the table for us? We need a left fielder. And if we sign Soto, does that take all of the left field options off the table for us? Teoscar Hernandez is in conversations with the Red Sox right now. Teoscar Hernandez is a Yankee killer, and he's going to go to our rival. Like, we need to do something to fix our holes, or we're not going to compete in 2025.
Yeah. And Eli, I think that's the closest you've come to making a point that I could see on this, but still, if we were in that poverty situation, then for all the reasons Ciarra just talked about and I did, then it's Judge that we need to save. But and Christian Walker is also still available. I didn't see him come off the table, as CT just reminded us.
Or Nolan Arenado, who the Cardinals are still shopping, and he has a no trade clause, but he's come out and said that he's willing to be traded to the right team at this point, because clearly the Cardinals, the guy didn't win a freaking Gold Glove for the first time in 10 years, and the Cardinals are like, all right, you got to go. So I'm down for Arenado and Walker at the corners, and I've said that before. But like, Soto is our plan A, B, and C. The Yankees don't have any other backup plans. The only other person that we're tied to right now is Max Fried.
Right.
And look, I'm not against getting a starting pitcher. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, but to me, that's not the top priority, especially when we are heavy loaded on starting pitching right now. We have Luis Hill, we have Garrett Cole, we have Clark Schmidt, we have Marcus Stroman, we have oh my God, I'm forgetting who's on our team, but we have too many pitchers. Like, we would have to figure out, Cortez. We would have to figure out what to do with Nestor Cortez and Marcus Stroman at this point. And I keep seeing these ridiculous trades about Marcus Stroman going back to the Cubs. Why would the Cubs take him back? It doesn't make sense. Stroman and Nestor are not tradable at this point. So if we bring in Fried, what are we doing with the two of them?
Okay, well, with that hanging question, we have Donald joining us. What's up, Donald?
I want to say a big salute to everyone in the chat. I can see there's a ton of people in the chat, so I have to thank everybody for tuning in. And Ciarra's cooking, by the way. I've been sitting in here and I've been watching, and I've been like, damn, she is cooking. So there's a lot of things that she is 1,000% right in. So first of all, the coaching issue, she's spot on. Development issue, she's spot on. And the lack of fundamentals is absolutely a priority. But that both things don't have to be mutually exclusive. You pay Soto $800 million doesn't mean that they can't focus on the fundamentals. That is a must. It's a must regardless of who's going to be a Yankee at the end of this offseason. It is a priority. It's been a priority since spring training. I was watching spring, and there was so many crazy things that were happening, and no one was paying attention to it because it was spring. But I was thinking, why is this not being addressed? And then we go into the regular season, and it wasn't being addressed. And then I was pretty certain that this has been a major issue. Then we get to the World Series, and it turns out that the Dodgers have been talking about it the whole time. Going, this Yankee team is just a situation where put the ball in play, and they're going to beat themselves. So the Yankees need to stop being arrogant about this. They need to sit down, and they need to be they need to take some accountability and culpability and say, right, how can we be better? Because there's no excuse to play like that in a World Series in front of the world. To play like that is
The highest viewed World Series in history.
absolutely. It was embarrassing. All they needed to do is actually just make the right plays, and they would have been in at least a game 6. So it's very frustrating, especially considering what Soto did in that World Series. He was freaking incredible. So was Stanton. So was Garrett Cole. And
You guys heard that, right? Stanton.
they let them all down. I love Big G. Big G is my boy. I absolutely love that man. That man carried that team through the World Series, because they played like shit. Let's be honest. Right through the playoffs, I thought they played like shit. Big G and Soto aside, with a little bit of Gleyber Torres, who's going to be gone, by the way. So now they need to replace Gleyber Torres as well, because there's a bit of production there. So there's a lot of issues. But it's imperative that they focus on the fundamentals. So spot on, Ciarra.
And by the way, that applies, as Ciarra, I think you mentioned earlier, it applies to this guy that we're about to, put out on the table up to 754. It includes him as well. So, he was, and that's not taking away everything you just said, Donald, about how he was in the World Series. But, when you look at the overall all season long, he needs some work in the outfield there if that's where we're keeping him. And that's going to be where we're keeping him. So
He wasn't that bad in right field.
Donald, I will send you the highlight reel, because it's ingrained in my brain at this point, of Soto kicking the ball in right field, not misplaying the ball in right field. Like, those things bothered me watching him play right field. And I had someone tell me last night that I have to laugh when I say this, because I laughed when I read it. This guy told me last night, and I appreciate his point of view, that Soto plays right field the way that Dominican men in their 40s play in a softball league, and they rarely get hurt, right? And I appreciate that Soto might never get hurt playing the outfield that way, but that's not good enough for me. We're paying you more than any of us will ever see in our lifetime, and you don't need that much money to survive. Even if your career ended today, you don't need that much money. Your family doesn't need that much money.
Right.
You have to be able to field the ball. So I don't know if the answer is moving him to.
But by the way, Aaron Judge was just as bad in center field. He was bad at center field.
And I talked about that earlier. I talked about it earlier. But I don't know if the answer is moving Soto to left, which is his natural position, because left field in Yankee Stadium isn't easy to play. So I really don't know what the answer is for the outfield for Soto, but he has to get it together if he's going to make that much money.
I think that we can live with having a below average right fielder.
Oh,
If the other positions are okay, as long as
they're not. But they're not. So that's my thing.
That's what they need to focus on.
You're putting a rookie at second base, a rookie that we're basing the Arizona Fall League off of, right? You're putting who the hell knows who's playing first base next season, because we're not looking at Walker, we're not looking at Arenado, we're not looking at Bellinger. So we're, like I said, it's down to Rumfield, Rice, and Cabrera. And then you have old man DJ LeMahieu, who should just have his foot chopped off at this point. Like, what are we doing? And then you have Volpe, who has 16 to 18 errors a season playing shortstop. Like, we need to focus on the infield, and Soto also needs to play a better outfield.
Yeah, but I think the outfield positioning was also an issue, because that's what the Dodgers pointed out as well.
100%. Aaron Judge should be in right field.
Yeah.
Soto's natural position is left, but again, at Yankee Stadium, left field is a hard position
they
to play.
Often put Soto too shallow in right, which is weird considering it's a short porch. It's a very short right field. Mm-hmm. But Aaron Boone had him playing quite shallow. So, and his biggest weakness is balls that are just above or over his head. Soto wasn't very good at tracking back. And that's what made him worse. If they actually positioned Soto correctly and had him closer to the wall, I think he would have made a lot more plays. But again, it comes down to coaching. And the Yankees don't really pay attention to fundamentals. They don't look at the analytics very well. Mike Fishman is a disgrace. He should have been gone years ago.
Our analytics department is a joke.
Our analytics is awful. And it's the biggest analytics department in the league, and I don't know what they do, because it's headed by a moron. If they got rid of Mike Fishman, things would look considerably better, because it's not the analytics, it's the way the Yankees interpret the analytics, which is the problem.
Well, I want to say welcome to everyone that joined. People are just flying in because they must have seen the flames from wherever they are. Because I just love sitting back and watching you, Donald and Ciarra here, going back and forth about this. And the chat seems to be mixed about the first base thing and the Soto, worth in the outfield thing. So I just think, to me, Donald, I don't know if you were listening from the beginning. I do think that this is ceiling level money spent. I think that, we can't be mad at Hal at this point. Hal has been surprising, to me at least. And if Soto walks away, it means something else and it means the dollars. It doesn't have anything to do with wanting to be a Yankee. So, my take on that is bye and good luck. And now we see you. Yeah, that is, Donald, because you know what? If and this is the controversy, right? This is what I'm getting some pushback on the X. You know what? If it's that small in your world, which like a 10 to $30 million gap-ish, would be chump change for him. And you're leaving this franchise. There are other trappings beyond the money. There's Monument Park. There's, you know what? You're on track, more than on track, to be in Cooperstown someday. Wouldn't you want to be there as a Yankee? There's so many reasons. Don't you want to, end your career as a Yankee, go into the Hall of Fame as a Yankee? All those
Mhm.
shiny objects, I would think, knowing what we know about Soto, would be worth it to him. But
There's no question in my mind. You're spot on. I mean, if we're going by whatever numbers we're hearing, that the Mets are at 730, the Yankees are at 710. I'm absolutely astonished at this point that Soto hasn't just gone right to Hal going right. Okay, this is what I need to get this done. Let's get it done. I'm surprised we're not at that stage, but we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. There's every chance that Juan Soto said to Scott Boras, "Let's just get this thing tied up. I want to be a
That's
Yankee."
that's
But
exactly what it is. It's Scott
there's
Boras.
a very good chance that Scott Boras is like, no, 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 I can get us another 30, 40, $50 million. And so a lot of this is Scott Boras. I mean, we have to remember this is Boras, and this is Boris's ego. Scott Boras is about to land the biggest contract in baseball history, and he is the agent that represents that. So it's he wants to be that guy too, because you saw the way that he ran last year. He completely blew the market, misread the market from the jump last year, and led all his clients down off a cliff, essentially. And now this is his year to make up for it.
that's
So
right.
there is an ego to that. So I don't want to blame Juan Soto necessarily, because we just don't know what is being said behind the scenes. There's every chance that he's actually wanting to be a Yankee, but Boris is pushing this.
Yeah,
I
you're 100% right. And this time it's safe for him to do it. Because he will exonerate himself to some degree from last season. Because no matter what, Soto will be the highest played player, no matter what. And so I think you're right on that. And it's gonna be a timing thing. But and Mr. Barrows, I get you, and good to see you. I saw you a long time ago, but thanks for joining us. Um, and yeah, plain talk. I hear you, Mr. Barrows, for sure.
yeah.
Um, Go ahead, Sarah. Sarah, sorry.
So I think the other thing too that we need to recognize is that it's not the 90s and it's not the early 2000s anymore. It doesn't mean as much to be a Yankee as it did back then, because we haven't done anything to show that we are the big bad Yankees or the evil empire in a very long time. I think back when, Jeter, Posada, the core four, when they were here, it would mean a lot more for a guy to come play for us than it
Yeah.
does right now. Because while we do have Aaron Judge, and I still stand by what I said earlier, playing in front of Aaron Judge is a lot different than playing in front of other guys on other teams.
Francisco
We
Lindor.
haven't, yeah, we haven't won anything, right? and the lack of fundamentals, it's got to bother, anyone who's considering coming to the Yankees, especially if you're looking at a long-term contract where you're basically stuck with us for the rest of your life. So let's say you get all this money and then you're stuck, and then we don't win any World Series because we can't field the ball, we can't run the bases, our analytics department is running everything, and we're going through, coaches like crazy because no matter what we do, we can't figure it out. Like that's got to be a concern to Soto. I don't think that's the whole conversation, but that's something to consider as well.
It's a big conversation. I agree with you. I agree with you. Didn't Soto already talk about that?
He talked about the farm system.
In the initial meeting, I think he was asking about the farm system and the development and how took it as he was interested. No, he was concerned.
Right.
He's been to our development places in Florida. I mean, his family lives near Florida, so he's not stupid. He's concerned. He was watching that World Series, and the way that he was staring out of that dugout, he was like, what the F are we doing? Seriously.
Also, like, if you look across town to Queens, and I know it sounds silly to say this, look how much fun they had last year, right? There was no pressure on them because nobody thought they were going anywhere, right? And then all of a sudden, you have the New York Mets in the freaking NLDS, right? Like, where did that come from? You have a guy, singing "Oh My God" on the field for the fans. You have Grimace throwing out for the first pitch. You just have a bunch of fun happening on and off the field. Like, if I'm a baseball player, I'm also considering that because I don't want to be tied down to this strict, boring organization that's not going to let me be myself. And I think that's something that the Yankees need to consider moving forward. There are a lot of outdated policies with the Yankees that don't make any sense anymore. Like the facial hair policy, for one. That probably holds us back as well in some of these conversations. Maybe not with Soto, but with some other guys.
Right. And you got a comment here from 13 Bar, Ciarra. So, as a business, I would agree, but for the reason Ciarra just mentioned, that's the needle that has to move back to the place where they're really thinking about empty your seats. Let's face it. You watch every game this season. Think about when the stadium was full or full-ish as opposed to the majority of the season. Fans vote with their feet, and they should be paying attention to that. So, I think Ciarra, you bring up a really good point, and that's part of what my generation is coming from. Is that culture of, hey, you really are our boss, fans. Without you, we can't put $23 billion on the table and sign a contract that is closer to $1 billion than I would have dreamt 5 years ago, let alone, further back. So they have to remember, though, the consequence of that action, like I said earlier. And they're not, and we're going to be paying for it one way or another. So yeah, you better bring the bright shiny objects to the fans the way I've been talking about the bright shiny objects in front of Soto that have nothing to do with the dollars in the contract he's going to get. So are we are we good with the Soto thing?
No, not even close.
Are we done talking about Soto yet?
I came across somebody that tweeted me going, the Yankees do have a plan B. Plan B is better. Walker, Santander, Bregman, Burns, etc.
Bregman's not leaving Houston.
I have to keep repeating this because I don't understand how people aren't getting the math. Right? It's not the 700 million, 800 million we focus on. It's the AAV, right? 50 million per year, right? Walker, Santander, Bregman, Burns, all that is like $120 million per year. There is a big difference, right? Another thing, Santander is 30, and his OPS is about, and his on base percentage is 300, right? Soto's 26, and his on base percentage is around about like 440. I mean, there's a massive difference, right? Soto's OPS plus is like 178. Santander's is like 80 points worse. His batting average is like 80 points worse. I mean, there is a considerable difference. And Santander is much worse in the field than Soto. If you think Soto's bad in right field, watch Santander. So do you want to pay Santander, who's 30 already, of like 5-year deal, which is what he's going to want? That's a terrible use of resource, right? And then you want Walker, who's 33. He's going to want 4 or 5-year deal. Do you want to keep him going until he's 38? Right? Rizzo is already looking kind of cooked. DJ LeMahieu's looking a little cooked, and they're not even 38 yet. So I don't want to be paying guys 36, 37 years old these kind of money. That's a terrible use of resource. It really is. Bregman, you can make an argument because we could really do with having elite third base play. But again, that contract is going to look pretty bad in 2-3 years' time too, because he's 30 already. We need to move off of guys that paying them top dollar when they're 31, 32. That's it's going to be leading to massive decline. Aaron Judge is different than that because Aaron Judge is elite. But these guys that I'm naming, none of them are elite. So you don't pivot to that. You don't. Burns, yeah, you pay a Corbin Burns, no problem. Happy to do that. But those other guys that I named, that's a terrible use of resource. So no, you don't just say, because I've been seeing it, and it's not just fans. I've been seeing it from Brandon Tierney and people that I expect to have better takes going, I'll just pivot and use that $600 million in 5 different players. It doesn't work like that. Focus on the AAV. What would you rather? Would you rather have a generational Hall of Fame 26-year-old who carried a team to a World Series for $50 million, or a bunch of 30-year-olds combined that cost about $150 million? What would you prefer? That's the argument. Juan Soto makes a better team. Plus, you take away Stroman's contract, find a way to get someone to take on Stroman's contract. You free up $18 million right there, and then you can apply that to other areas such as Bellinger at first base.
But who's taking on Stroman's contract? That's the whole point I made earlier. Nobody wants Marcus Stroman, and I'm a Marcus Stroman.
He's only 1 year on his contract.
But nobody wants him. We don't even want him.
No, that is true, but it's not like there's multiple years on his contract. 1 year, there might be a team that could do it.
But if he reaches his innings that we put in his contract, like I think it's 180, he's going to be here for a 3rd year.
Well,
so that has to be like, we have to figure something out with Cortez and Stroman, because we don't want them. Nobody else wants them. Like, what do we do with them?
People would want Cortez. I mean, you could do a lot worse than having a 5th starter with an ERA of like 3.90. That's pretty good.
No, the pitch clock has ruined Cortez.
No, I'm not a Cortez fan, but his numbers aren't that bad.
But if they pitched more games, would his numbers be worse or better than what we're seeing in that shorter sample size?
He was an all-star 2 years ago.
But I'm interrupting because I just want to say, Joe Schoen Train, thank you. I'm glad you joined us. This is the first time we're seeing you here. We hope to see you here. But we are very courteous with each other, and that's a major rule here. We we're family here. We've built that family, and we protect that family. So please use courteous language so we can have you stay and not have to kick you out of the chat, because you are saying some good things.
I think he's saying that the people that are saying that are idiots. I don't think he's saying anything about the panel or in the chat, though. I think he's just saying the people that think that those contracts that I mentioned combined make it better than Soto are idiotic. I think that's what he meant.
But so let me just say, like, you were making great points, Donald, right? Okay. And I started off earlier saying this. All the points I make about Soto, I still want to be clear. I'm still just a girl standing in front of Juan Soto, asking him to give the final rose to the New York Yankees. I want Soto in pinstripes, but there are still other concerns. Like, we cannot expect to win a World Series if we have only rookies in the infield and we don't have a left fielder, right? And I think that's a fair conversation to have. So I don't think Juan Soto should be the end-all be-all for the Yankees. If we're going to spend this money, you just freaking do it Dodger style and spend $1 bajillion that we don't have at this point. Make it worth it. Because if we're only signing one player and we're not winning a World Series next year, Yankees fans are going to be calling for Hal's head. Because that's how we are.
And by the way, flash forward 15 years when Juan Soto is 41. Okay.
Well, no one cares about 15 years from now.
No, but here's my point. I plan on being alive in 15 years. I think I'll care. I'm
Yeah, but
old.
the baseball market will
No,
change.
but Donald, here's my point, though. Don't go all Giancarlo Stanton on Soto's ass when he's getting old and aging, and we got him. 15 years is a long time. So I'm just putting that out there now because we are buying the rest of his career out. And so that plays into this as well. So, he's a young man in this moment in time, but he's not Jason Dominguez young. And so we just gotta think about that. I hear you on the AAV, Donald, and I know I'm jumping, out of that context here, but we are having another, at some point he'll be an albatross around the neck. So just the 15 years is a big part of this package here that I put a big flag on the play with. That's all.
26 is still a very good age. That's really good. He's still got plenty of years in his prime.
100, yeah, absolutely. And God bless, he could still be, at 41 better than some of the 26-year-olds we have then. And so especially if he stays in right field, which is, a pretty good sweet spot for him at the moment.
But
not for us.
Just look at it this way. Take him out of the equation. What are we looking at? It's barren. It's absolutely barren.
Well, that's the outfield in general.
Well, the whole roster. You take him out, and the roster looks barren. It'll be Aaron Judge and Big G, and then a bunch of questions after that. We don't have a leadoff hitter. We don't have a third baseman.
Because we're letting Labor walk.
Second baseman. Don't have a first baseman. Don't have a left fielder. We don't have a number 2 starter. We don't have a closer. I mean, there is
so many holes
for this roster.
So many holes. That's part of the point. Yeah.
So, and Soto covered a lot of those holes. So you take him out, and I'm sorry, there isn't a plan B because.
But if he even with Soto in the lineup, and again, let me be clear, people, because I don't want to be eaten alive. I love Juan Soto.
Me too, by the way.
Even with Soto, we still have holes to address, and that's been my concern this whole time. Like, I know people hate Gleyber Torres, and I'm his number 1 defender, so I'm a little biased here. But you put him in that leadoff spot in the second half of the season. Finally, for the first time since maybe 2017, we have a leadoff hitter, and now we don't. And now we're going to put a rookie at second base, right? Who's not proven himself. We also lose the leadoff hitter. We lose Gleyber's production in the postseason. We lose his second half production because while his first half of the season was the worst he's ever played in his life, his second half, that was a huge difference maker. He got on base to set up Soto and Judge, right? Now we're looking at losing him. Verdugo's gone. His production offensively was trash, but he was a great left fielder. You have Jazz Chisholm, who I still think will be good at third, but he's still relatively new in that position. And you don't have a first baseman. You can't rely on Carlos Rodon. You cannot rely on Luis Gil because I don't care that he won Rookie of the Year. Homeboy has to get his control under control. He has control issues, and I don't care what anyone else says. It's very noticeable. And I think we do have a closer. We have Luke Weaver, but where's the rest of the bullpen? We don't have a bullpen outside of Luke Weaver at this point. Tommy Kahnle, who the hell knows if he's coming back? And even if he does, he has 1 pitch, right? There are so many other concerns that with or without Soto, I don't know what this team looks like. There's so much to fix outside of just, the fundamentals and the freaking coaching staff and the analytics department.
Oh, yeah, you're 1,000% right, but it's a whole lot worse if you take Soto out of the equation because you're talking about a superstar who's 26 years old. You take a 26-year-old star away, and the Yankees don't have any star in their prime. None. Aaron Judge is going to be past his prime very soon. Big G is our only playoff hitter. So LI, he's got a no trade clause, and his OPS in the playoffs is like 2,000. You don't take that away, bro. Good God. I mean, that's just moronic. Have a better take. So you take away our best playoff hitter, which he is, and then you got Judge, who doesn't hit in the playoffs, and he's like 33. I don't know where our prime star is going to come from. Jason Dominguez? the Yankees didn't seem to like him too much last year. And they haven't really developed anybody else. They haven't given Peraza a chance or anybody like that. So I don't know what the Yankees' plan is. I'm concerned about it. I'm just as concerned about it as Ciarra, but I'm taking it from the different vantage point. Whereas, like, if you take Soto out, what have we got?
What playoffs was this guy watching?
Ciarra, you want to take this comment?
Like, you can hate Gleyber in the regular season all you want. Like, whatever. There's only so much I can say to defend the guy. But what playoffs were you watching? In the ALCS and ALDS, it was Stanton, Torres, and Soto. That was it. Nobody else showed up. I don't know. Maybe
No, you're not wrong. And the same is true of Stanton. Stanton all season long. Buy out his contract, let him go, yada. Right? But you don't have Stanton, you don't have Torres, then we were already embarrassed. I don't know what the word would be beyond embarrassed if we didn't have them there. And that's money. I've said that in defending Big G all season when people like several in the chat that will remain nameless wanted him gone because he's thinking up things, right? But you know what? What he does in the postseason is money, and almost should have got us a trophy. And Gleyber is looking like the same. So it stuns me that it's been so radio silent out there until recently, as Ciarra told me, and I want you to share, Ciarra, that Torres has not been in any conversation. Not one beat writer, analyst, reporter, anywhere, because I've looked, has been giving us any hints of anyone even thinking about him across MLB. But you said something to me before we hopped on, Ciarra.
Yeah, I read an article that it's looking like possibly Seattle for him, but it does kind of shock me that after all these years of Boston trying to trade for him, that they're not in conversations because they don't have a second baseman. But part of me thinks the reason that there isn't a whole lot happening is because Gleyber wants to be a Yankee and he's trying to hold out until the last possible moment, because if we don't sign Soto, there is still hope for him. But so he has to wait. And this is my theory, guys, right? I'm not a beat reporter. I'm not John Heyman. I'm not MLB Scoops. I'm just giving my personal opinion based on my favorite baseball player. I think he wants to be a Yankee so bad that he's waiting to see if Soto signs or not before he has any serious conversations with anybody. And you know what? He's the only real second baseman on the market right now. So he has the option to do that, in my opinion. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I wanted to pivot back to what Donald said about Jason Dominguez. Yeah, I think the bigger issue with Jason Dominguez is that the Yankees are playing him out of position. He's not a left fielder. He needs to be in center field. Yankees, they did not develop him correctly. You cannot play a guy in center field in the minors and then all of a sudden throwing him left field in Yankee Stadium. Judge needs to go back to right, and Dominguez needs to go to center if we're relying on Dominguez next season. And honestly, put Soto in left field, right? Maybe at Yankee Stadium swap something. I don't know. But on the road, like, he's a natural left fielder. And I didn't believe this before, but I've done some research and I've been proven wrong. He is a natural left fielder. We got to stop playing guys out of our positions because that's part of the issues that we're having with these fundamentals. You play a certain position all the way through college, all the way through the minors, and then you switch it up. And not everybody can do that. Jazz can do it. That's great. Right. Somebody like Cody Bellinger can do it. Fantastic. But clearly Dominguez can't. So we have to get him back into his position. And then maybe he will actually be the prospect that we thought he could be. And sorry, guys, but we got to trade freaking Spencer Jones. He's got to go. We got to get something for him. Because with the outfield,
I wouldn't give up on him.
I'm not giving up on him. But if we're bringing up Dominguez and we have Judge and we have Soto and we still have Grisham as that fourth outfielder and we have Big G, there is no path for Spencer Jones. So you need to get something in return for him instead of letting him rot in the minor leagues. Because look what we did to Peraza all these years. We never gave him a path. And now mentally, he cannot handle the majors. And now we also can't trade him because he's shown that he can't handle it. Like, you can't keep Jones and Dominguez.
Development.
But we don't develop anybody. That's the thing. We don't develop our minor league players. And that's why previously I was like, okay, the Red Sox actually make a lot of sense for Soto because they have a very good minor league farm system. Mm-hmm. But that's about it. That's all they have to offer. We don't do that.
No. But we're about to throw Durbin up at second base.
but I don't want him at second base.
I know, but I'm doubling down on your point. Like that was like a case in point, right? Like that's going to be the plan C if we don't figure things out there either. And you're totally right. We were lucky with Jazz. We'd be lucky with Bellinger. I just missed who said it, but other than that, who do we have? And I said it last week. Poor Ciarra, she heard this before the show. I was going to hear it again. Don't forget about Cabrera either. And so he has not had the outfield experience. I get that. But he's proven himself literally everywhere else except maybe catcher and pitcher, right? Or did he pitch one inning in a really bad game? I don't even know. I wouldn't rule it out. But he should be in the conversation in some way. So and you know what? I was not mad at all at the way he handled first when Rizzo was down for good. I think that he adjusted really well there. And if we're throwing Durbin, fly over AAA kid, come on up, and be second base, then why aren't we doing that with Cabrera at first if necessary?
And not for nothing, Cabrera is a super freaking utility guy. Okay, he shows up to spring training, to these camps with a glove for every position. And if we're talking about going to get a bum like Tyrell Estrada off the street, when we have Cabrera sitting right there, who's like 24 years old, what are we doing here? What, like, that would be the stupidest move the Yankees could make, in my personal opinion, because Cabrera is that utility guy coming off the bench. I don't think he's a starter. I don't think he's an everyday player. But Cabrera should get the opportunity to come off the bench as that utility man. Give him some reps in spring training at first base. It's not going to hurt anything.
But the key to development is Jason Dominguez. They have got to use him correctly, deploy him correctly.
Center field
is spot on. He is a center fielder. He struggled in left field. It's a different left field in Yankee Stadium is a little bit difficult. So you needed reps, and he didn't get any reps, and I thought it was really unfair on him. I thought the only time that we saw him, the very first time we saw him this year, was used as the 27th man in that rookie game, showcase game, and it was against Tariq Skubal, and it set him up to fail. It was a terrible decision, and it was embarrassing, and it made him look bad, and then you plop him out in left field, and he made a couple of errors, and then suddenly everyone's blowing up and going after him. Oh, he's this, he's that, he's Clint Frazier, blah, 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 blah. Yep. It's unfair on the kid. It was a really poor way of using him. I mean, you're talking about one of your top prospects. You put him in a position to succeed. You don't put him in a position to fail. And that's what the Yankees did with him. It's weird what they've done with Dominguez, but they've actually been really cool with Volpe. Volpe, they've given him shortstop, the keys to the kingdom, without any pressure and no issues. With Dominguez, it's been different. And I want to know why, because Dominguez is a better prospect than Volpe. So I want to know why they're doing this with Dominguez. I didn't think they did him right. And
I mean, I have my theories of why Volpe is, given the keys and is the golden child, right? Yeah. He is the New York kid from New Jersey. You have little baby Anthony Volpe at the 2009 World Series parade. You have little baby Anthony Volpe with his picture with Derek Jeter. Like, the Yankees are using that as like some sort of sentiment to Yankees fans. And that's no knock to Volpe. I think he's improved tremendously in his sophomore season. Like, look what he did. He showed up in the World Series, right? But I truly believe that's what it comes down to, is he is a sentimental value to the New York Yankees fans. They've compared him to Jeter all those years coming up, and they set him and us up for failure, because nobody should be compared to the Yankees of the past. Volpe should just be Volpe. And also, like, I see the chat talking about patience, and I totally understand where they're coming from, right? The Braves have the young guys, the Orioles have the young guys, but we are Yankees fans, right? If we don't go to the World Series next year or the year after that, how patient can Yankees fans really be? Like, that's what we really need to be asking.
Right. And so and there's no doubt that Dominguez is going the Peraza direction. And we see it on the wall. And left field is far different from center and right, and not just Yankee Stadium, but other stadiums. It seems to be, and I'm sorry I can't remember the stadium. There's one stadium where literally there's no space between the grass and the wall that people aren't on. And there's stadiums where left field goes, the wall goes like this, like a maze, and you have to adjust to where your right ankles are, or you run into walls like I saw someone do. So so it's more than just being developed for that position. That development has to include, and they don't do this. I'm sure they don't do this. Taking a look at all the other stadiums and what those are going to feel like. It's more than just the global development of being a left fielder, but a situational left fielder, so that you don't have to worry wherever they are. Left field is trickier than the others. And so whoever they're going to put there, if they're not already developed like we had with Verdugo, then they got to focus on broad and not just like in our house. And Ciarra, to your point about the Volpe story, and I get you, and we bought into it big time, right? It's not different than what we just said earlier about the Mets and how they're, they have a mascot and the dancers and the feel good energy. At least this is the Yankees doing some part of what we just discussed earlier. That's just my comment back on that. Not saying it's right, and I agree. So, but I think that was free, like, marketing that tells me that they're thinking about it, but just not enough. And they had an opportunity. Someone mentioned it in the stats meeting, and they said, "How dare you talk about this during a stats meeting?" And they decided to do it. Say, "Oh yeah, let's focus on that." Anywho,
Ciarra, Dominguez TJ surgery. How were the Yanks unfair?
They were unfair to him before the TJ surgery, right? We waited. We brought him up. First of all, 2023 was a joke of a season. Why did we wait till the last freaking 8 games to bring the guy up? Okay, and I still think basing his whole career off 8 games is a little wild. But 2023, there was room for him to be up here playing because we weren't playing for anything. He ended up with a freaking injury because that's what happens when you put on pinstripes. So, and then the next, 2024, they try to rush the guy back through the minors. He gets injured again. It's an oblique injury, whatever. And then they bring him up and they put him in left field where the guy doesn't play, right? He does not play left field. So then we watched him drop routine fly balls. And I was very hard on him. And I'm sure a lot of other Yankees fans were, because to me, you cannot play the outfield and not catch the ball. But like a lot of fans have been saying, he is a center fielder. That's how he's treated unfairly, because you can't bring a guy up and play him out of his position. And then like, you suck. You got to go. Like, and yeah, I do put a lot of it on the fans because we're very impatient when it comes to the young guys, because we want to win every season, because a lot of you older fans are used to the Yankees of the past who bought everybody and their mama and put them on the field. And that's how we won. I'm okay with doing it either way. I'm just saying, like, we can't have it both ways. But also, I don't want Caleb Durbin at second, and that's just a biased opinion because I'm a Glaber girly. I'll get over it once he's there.
Yeah. So my reason why he was unfair is because of the 27th man thing. I'm not getting over that. When you have Tariq Skubal lined up and then you just stick him out there in a no-win situation in left field, and you stick him in the middle of the order against the best pitcher in baseball. Even if he went 5 for 5, he was being sent down the next day. What an awful situation that you were being put in. So, and then, by the way, Verdugo had like a 500 OPS between like June and August. So there was plenty of room for Dominguez to get an opportunity to at least spell time there. And the Yankees didn't do it. They waited till the very last minute and threw him in, and then expected him to play perfect left field. And he didn't, because he's not a left fielder. He's a center fielder. They didn't give him any reps in left field. So these are very just real takes. And it's not just me that was saying that. You just look at Talking Yanks, we're saying the same thing. So, I mean, there's some very reputable sources were saying that they don't think Dominguez was handled correctly. So that's just my belief on the matter. They could have developed him better. The injuries suck, yeah, but he did recover, and they probably could have given him more reps than they did.
And he's still a baby. Like, that injury is not the end all be all for him. He's like 22 years old. We're acting like this guy is 35 years old and just had elbow or shoulder surgery. He's literally a child still. And in my whole point, 2023, there was plenty of room for Dominguez to be on that roster. Look who we had in the outfield in 2023, guys. We were playing Jake Bauer, Billy McKinney. I love IKF, but he's not a freaking outfielder, okay? The only outfielder we had in 2023 was Harrison Bader, who couldn't stay healthy. So that's my point. If they would have gave him more opportunity in 2023, maybe Dominguez would have been ready after his injury in 2024.
Mhm.
And when I say we can't have it both ways, all I'm saying is we can't complain about not winning a World Series and then also complain about the young guys. There has to be a middle ground. I understand, like I agree with Frank. There has to be a blend, but I'm just saying we can't. As a Yankees fan, you sit back and you watch. We want the young guys, but then as soon as they don't do good, we complain about it.
But Ciarra, I would give Durbin a chance because he could be something that we are actually lacking. He's a good contact guy. He doesn't strike out at all.
I will get on base. I'll get on base when the season starts. Right now,
He never
I'm
strikes
mourning
out, so his contact's really good. His speed is ridiculous. He plays decent defense, and he's also a fundamentals guy. And this is a team that needs fundamentals. So I think the reason why they're really promoting Durbin is those factors could actually really improve this team. We need contact. We need to take away some of these strikeouts, and we need someone that actually knows what they're doing in the infield. So I'm quite excited to see what Durbin is, but I don't want to overrate him. I mean, he's quite small. I mean, he's like 5'8" or something like that, soaking wet. So I mean, I'm a little concerned about that, but he could be someone that is just a really pesky, kind of annoying dude.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, Volpe is small too, so these wiry dudes can get things to happen.
Yeah.
And I'm not mad at some extra speed on the team. That's for sure.
We need.
I'll get on board when the season starts.
I know. Listen,
I'm mourning the loss of Gleyber Torres, and I'm going to mourn it until the very last moment.
Yeah, and we'll allow you the time and the space. And Donald, I know you're losing patience.
Donald, we don't have a fundamental problem. You are a fucking moron. You didn't watch a single game last year.
With all due respect and love, given my speech earlier. So let's see. Are there any other out? Or Ken, I missed the context because you guys have your chat within the chat. But why is this on my screen?
Because Caleb Durbin and Altuve are the same height.
Oh. Okay, you know what?
Did you think we landed Altuve?
I'm sorry. I think Altuve will still be a midget next to Durbin, but I get.
I don't know. Caleb Durbin doesn't have a neck. It makes him look even shorter. It bothers me.
Oh boy. Okay, we're going on to all sorts of off the tracks here for sure. 5'6". Yeah, whatever. I mean, he's short, but you know what? Shorter to ground, faster to run. I guess must be what it is. How tall is Grisham? Because he had speed. All right. So yeah, the chat's off on some other stratosphere here. Final words on Soto, and then let's talk trades for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose we can do that.
Why don't we just pivot there for now, and then I know we'll land on Soto no matter what. We'll be talking about trades, and someone will mention something about Soto. I get that. All right, so trades this week. So congratulations, Mets! You got yourselves Clay Holmes. Not only did you get yourself Clay Holmes, but you're allegedly thinking about putting him in the starting rotation. So I know we had a Met fan or two in here. $38 million for 3 years is certainly a different kind of conversation than the one we've been having. But I'm going to start with you guys. Obviously, Ciarra, Holmes is a closer. What are the Mets? Do you think that this is just fodder out in the X sphere, or
No.
you think this is something they're going to do, and why?
So, is Holmes really a closer though?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if we were to sit back and think about it, I think he could be a great setup man because he cannot handle high pressure situations, which is why I think David Stearns is actually a super sneaky genius, or he could be. I could be totally wrong, right? You as a starter, there's less pressure. Like you're starting the game off. Like there's nothing going on. So good for Clay Holmes. Get your money. Like let's see if it's worth it. I hope just for his sake he can figure it out next season, because obviously his last season with the Yankees was it was hard to watch towards the end. Once the Yankees took him out of the closing role, though, he was pretty good. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yep. And Raziel's agreeing, like set up dude at best. And Ciarra, you and I talked about this before we jumped on. You know, then what you're getting is what we had with Stroman and Nestor in the starting rotation. Good for the first 4 innings or so, and then you just better be ready with someone better. That's what they'd be getting if they do that. Or if they keep them in the pen, whichever. No matter what, Mets fans, if you're listening, stock up on the Rolaids now. Get the liquid Pepto-Bismol. It works faster. Okay? And if you get airsick, get some Dramamine, because he is a roller coaster. And if you're lady fans, if you love your manicures, you don't want Clay Holmes, because you're biting every fingernail off. That's what you're getting for $38 million. Donald?
Listen to Lynn. She's got all the advice. That's absolutely spot on. Now, listen, everyone knows my opinion. Anyone who watches the Pinstripe Chronicles knows my opinion on Clay Holmes. I mean, it's well known. It's like him and Aaron Hicks are like my definition of hell on earth. I would rather be tied to a chair and watch Barbie all day than watch Clay Holmes close for the Yankees. Can't handle it. Never could. He's a setup man. Keep him as a setup man. He's not a starter. He's a 2-pitch pitcher. Well, 3 pitches, but at the end of the day, he doesn't know how to command his slider, and his fastball's average as hell. In fact, it's pretty mediocre. He just throws it, and there's a little bit of velocity there, but he doesn't know how to control it either. So it goes right down the middle of the plate. His sinker's good though. He's a perfect setup guy, but he's not a starter, and he's gonna stink as a starter. He absolutely is. I don't understand what the Mets are doing there. I mean, if that is supposed to convince Juan Soto that the Mets are the team to go to by bringing him in as a starter, I mean, give me a break. Give me a break. You better making no moves at all than that. So listen, my feelings on Clay Holmes is straight up. He's Himmler, and I'm very glad he's gone.
So let's go on with the Yankee theme here. So Severino, we know the year he just had, and look what happened with the A's. All of a sudden, money in pockets with the A's, right? With the $67 million deal for 3 years. What are we thinking about that for Sevy? And if you're an A's fan, are you pissed the hell off about this? Just the money alone?
So I was so proud of Sevy watching him last season. Just the way he turned it around, right? His last 2 seasons with the Yankees were just atrocious. He was injured. It just, the whole baby Bombers thing, it didn't pan out. The only one we have left is Judge, right? Sevy had probably his best season of his career last year. And there's a lot to say about that. That's why he got the money he got.
So
however, seeing him go to the A's kind of threw me off, because since when did the A's spend money on pitching? But with that being said, they now have a solid rotation. JP Sears and Sevy together could be deadly if Sevy pitches how he did in 2024. And if they keep up the offensive production that they had in the first half of the season in 2024, the A's could be a very sneaky team for their first year in are they in Vegas? I don't even freaking know. I feel bad for the Oakland fans, because
I think they're in Sacramento right now. They're going to be in Sac.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
that's true. They will still be
there. That's gross. First of all, I feel bad for A's fans, because all their teams keep leaving, and it's BS. Like, they are some of the most loyal fans, and they just keep getting screwed over left and right. And now you want to spend money? Yeah, that's harsh.
Donald?
The way I view it is, I'm happy for Sevy, 1. 2, actually, I think the A's did a smart thing, because he's going to be the B tier of free agent starter, and they nipped in there before there's any other teams that could compete with them, because once Fried is off the board and Burns is off the board and Jack Flaherty and Sevy are in that kind of B tier range, there'll be a bunch of teams competing for that. So credit to the A's for nipping in there. And as I've been saying for a long time, I've been wanting the small market teams to actually spend money in free agency.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great to see this actually finally happen. Although it's quite jarring to see him wearing an A's uniform, considering the A's haven't spent any money since I was a kid. So I honestly can't remember the last time they actually spent any money on a free agent whatsoever. In fact, they made a movie completely devoted to the fact that they made Hattiesburg a fucking fucking DH. So a first baseman from a DH. So that's because they didn't want to pay Jason Giambi. So to see them actually pay for a really good starting pitcher is fucking jarring to me. For me, the Mets should have signed Sevy. He would have been a much better signing than Clay Holmes, like 100 times out of 100.
And Frankie Montas.
Yeah,
so,
and Montas. Yeah, really.
Eric Chavez was the last big comment. That exactly shows I was a freaking child when Eric Chavez was a third baseman for the A's. They were still VCRs back then. And Eric Chavez was the third baseman. So holy shit! But anyway, I'm very pleased.
Yes.
And we'll see how it goes. But it's good to see that there's a small market team that actually want to compete in free agency, because that's been a major issue with Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
Especially since Cohen came into town and he's outpriced all the free agents. Then no one wants to jump in the market. So it's great to see a small market team jump in there.
Absolutely. And Lynn, what's your take? Well, so my take is that first of all, like when I asked the question, it was just to stir the pot. I love Sevy, and I'm thrilled for Sevy. And even though it's the A's, I'm thrilled for the dollar amount, and I'm thrilled that he was grabbed early, like quote early on, right? Like, okay, we got to get him. And yes, A+ move on the A's. We know the A's. My God, like if I liken their budget to my grandmother's purse, like there's a crinkled used Kleenex and a peppermint candy at the bottom of it, and that's it. Everything else is empty. So like that they did this and found the money and got it in there, and maybe that's like the biggest ticket they had to buy. Was like, oh, everything on this. Good for them for doing it, because I think it's really smart. What I worry about is that I want Sevy to have a 2025 like he did this year, because you know what our pain was the year prior. So, and we were also sad to let him go. So good for Sevy. I want to keep on the Yankee train here because, so Sanchez to the Orioles. I'll start. Like, get prepared for Glaber to have like the career record year of numbers of home runs hit. First of all, I think he is going to, as better as he got when he left us, he's going to be twice or third that with the Orioles. It was something else that threw me off. I did not see that one coming. But there we have it. So what do you think about Sanchez, Donald?
I love that move for him, actually, and I actually like what the Orioles did yesterday. I think Gary Sanchez plus Tyler O'Neill, who hit 30+ home runs last year, you've significantly added power to your lineup. Gary Sanchez can be a very solid DH that can give you some power from the right side, backup catcher. I mean, I think that's actually pretty good value. And plus Tyler O'Neill, you've pretty much replicated what Santander would give you with those two guys. So I think that's a pretty good move. If they add a good starting pitcher, if they can maybe bring back Burns, holy shit, their team's going to be legit. And they're going to be right there in the East. So love that move for the Orioles. I like it for Sanchez. Good to see Gary Sanchez, getting a chance to play at a high level again. He did so with the Padres. Like he did a very good job there. So I think it'd be very interesting to see what he's going to do in the Orioles. He's getting back facing the Yankees again. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm actually happy for him.
Yep. Ciarra?
Yeah, so before I even address that, the Orioles, the whole wall situation cracks me up because they moved it because Gleyber Torres was killing them. Okay? Yeah. And now they have to move it back in. That's hilarious to me. Gary Sanchez is about to pop off in Baltimore. But it was to me, it was so random. I didn't even know Gary Sanchez was a free agent. I'm not even going to pretend I did. Tyler O'Neill, that was a good pickup. That was sneaky. Super sneaky. 31 home runs in Boston last season. Okay, O's, I see you. You're trying to compete.
Facts.
Yep. So yeah, and that damn wall is like, what are you gonna do next? You gonna move me again? Because now you got Sanchez. Yeah. So all right. So and then with the other one, I mean, Adamas is gone. You know, we didn't even have a chance to think about getting him. We're moving on to yeah, Giants gave him good dollars for that. So and that's really it for the big trade stuff. So and usually we spend a little bit of time talking about our prospects, but I think we just did embedded in everything else. So let's just bring let's bring it all back to literally the title of the show, which was one word Soto. So at this is last chance, last dance. What are your words about Soto? What is it today? Is it tomorrow? Is it neither? And Boris is going to be Boris for as long as he wants to. So you go, Ciarra.
So I am just going to quote Sabrina Carpenter. Soto, please, 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 please don't embarrass me. Please, please, please don't bring me to tears tonight. Okay? That's all I'm going to say.
Donald.
Yeah, I'd literally probably cry too. If Soto, I'd probably cry. Ugly cry. Ugly cry. I absolutely adore Juan Soto. Absolutely adore Juan Soto. He needs to be a Yankee. He needs to be in Monument Park once it's all said and done. I mean, let's be honest though. What you have a chance to retire a number, be a part of an organization that's had Derek Jeter and Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio. I mean, Babe Ruth. Come on, or the Mets. Come on. There's not a comparison. We were the Mets forever Mets. So there's not a comparison. The whole reason why this is even a question is because Cohen's come in and he's got unlimited money and he has to pay like 10 times over the odds in order to convince a free agent to come to the Mets because no one actually wants to go to the Mets. So that's just a fact. That is just a fact. Hey, by the way, A-Rod grew up a Mets fan, and now he's the biggest Yankee fan in the world. So,
that did us.
Also, A-Rod deserves a lot more respect from this organization.
Yes, absolutely. He doesn't get any credit, and he was absolutely incredible. So Ciarra is talking facts.
There are a few other guys in that conversation. Let's think about Bernie.
I can go on for days. I can go on decades for Yankee legends. Absolutely. But the point is, you've got that, or you got the Mets. Now,
right? Oh yeah.
I mean, I think you'd much prefer to rather have a middle of the order of Judge and Stanton protecting you than. Well, we don't actually know because the Mets don't have Alonso back yet. So
I think it's Alonso or Soto for the Mets. It's not both. It's either they're both Burns. They're both Boris clients, and they're both seeking big money. Obviously, Soto a lot more, but I know Daddy Steve is rich, but like, how rich are we talking here? Like, does he want to pay for both of them? I don't think he does.
I mean, we know this isn't the Yankees of yesteryear. If it was, then he'd already be a Yankee. But still, it's still the Yanks. Come on, man. Let's get it done. And I'm praying that it does because this team is going to look a whole hell of a lot of shit without him. Let's be honest. So let's just pray that it comes through. I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen tonight. I think after like the football is kind of done, I would say I wouldn't be surprised by like say 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Eastern time. We'll have an idea if after the initial football games are done. Then so is the big talk. Either that or first thing Monday morning. I'm thinking it might be Sunday night though. I think it might be tonight. I know that Boris will want to command the airwaves. He'll want to command it, be the talk of the room. So it's going to be after the football games, and I think you're going to hear something. Please let it be the Yankees, please.
He's gonna say, "I am taking my talents back to the Bronx."
Please.
So I feel like doing it right before Sunday Night Football wouldn't be the worst thing, but it would ruin it would ruin Sunday Night Football for folks. For you and Rob and Tats, Donald, I hope it's tomorrow morning. I rather go to sleep because you guys would have a hell of a show.
Well, I promise that whatever news breaks, I will do a show.
Oh,
And you guys are welcome to hop on when the news breaks because we're
I
gonna
was
do
talking it
a
up.
Soto podcast, and it will be separate from the Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I promise you.
I can't win for losing today. Listen, that was a compliment, Donald. Of course, you're gonna have a great show, no matter the fuck what. I'm saying for this generational player that the world is talking about, that I wish it breaks on your show. Is that a bad thing? That you had to turn it into that? It couldn't happen for us. I've been looking for my red light on my X thing. Didn't happen. I'm mad at that. I do think it might be tonight though. I hope for tomorrow for the reasons I said. I still mean it. And yes, everyone in this chat, I'm sure everyone watching, check out Rob Donald and Uncle Tats every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 because they are fire and smoke and flames all the time. And tomorrow, winner of the hot stove season for any podcast anywhere. That's why I wish for tomorrow. I think it might be, like someone said earlier, it's either going to be tonight or tomorrow. Well, yeah, yeah, I don't think it's gonna go past that.
Well, before I go, I want everyone to do me a solid and do everyone the Pinstripe Chronicles a solid. Hit the like button for Ciarra and Lynn because these girls have been freaking amazing today. You guys have been cooking. Got 100 people in the chat and absolutely spitting. So do us all a solid and hit the like button because you guys deserve it. You guys have been absolutely brilliant.
Thanks, Donald. And we're so glad you dropped on. You dropped on and dropped in, whatever preposition. But let me say this, and I mean it, but I mean it with sadness. I'm not going to ugly cry if Soto goes. And by the way, Donald, that also means don't watch the Barbie movie, because you'll ugly cry. I'm kidding. But I just wanted to bring up the Barbie movie.
Absolutely disgraceful.
I love the Barbie movie.
Disgusting.
And now it's our mission.
Man-hating woke garbage. Sorry.
You're sunk. Ciarra and I now have a mission to get you in a room, lock the door, and make you watch the Barbie movie.
Why do you hate me? I just spent the last minute promoting you guys.
Because it's tough love. And so I never saw it either. But anyway, but I will say that if Soto doesn't sign, like I said at the beginning, like I set out on the public X, I'm not going to cry because it means, you know what, then everything that the Yankees are that aren't other teams are not. And all the things, Yankees fans that are listening, I mean by that, then goodbye. You played it well. You made us think. You made me fall in love with you, and now you do this. I'm going to get over you real fast. And good luck your first night in the stadium in the Bronx wearing someone else's uniform. We'll see how that goes. We'll see how our fans do. That I would be looking forward to. But listen, chat, you guys are always amazing. And thanks for being here. And all the newcomers, come back. Ciarra, did I give you your last word? I've lost track already. I'm out of my mind.
No, you haven't. Let her get the last word.
Take your last word.
All right. My last words, guys. Soto will be a Yankee. Boris, he's just been playing mind games with everybody. He'll be a Yankee, but we still have other holes to fill. So buckle up because this offseason isn't over yet.
Preach.
Okay. Yep. So it's all up to Boris and nobody else. We know that. So thanks everybody. Enjoy the rest of the day. Enjoy the football. You know, I don't know how many times your thumb's going to be hitting refresh on Twitter. Remember, carpal tunnel is real, so you know, substitute your fingers every now and then. Protect your hands. But as always, you always have a reserve seat with Ciarra and me every Sunday, live at 11, right here on the Upper Deck. And let's go, Soto!
Let's go, Soto!